Stay quiet. Tonight's story comes from Mr. Wispman. Hey there, folks. Welcome to another chilling tale on Mr. Wispman's channel. Tonight, we're diving into a creepy story called Night Shift Nightmares, a collection of eerie experiences from folks working the graveyard shift. If you're into spooky stories that make your skin crawl, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you don't miss a single tale. Alright, let's get into the shadows and explore these unsettling nights. The Hotel Stalker. I used to work the night shift at a small hotel. Just a little 3-story place with about 40 rooms. This happened about a year ago, and let me tell you, it still haunts me. I can't shake the memory. It's like a bad dream that keeps creeping back. The hotel wasn't exactly hopping. On weeknights, we'd have maybe 10 or 15 rooms booked. I worked from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and most nights were dead quiet. I'd sit behind the front desk, do some paperwork, check the security cameras, or scroll through YouTube on my phone when things got really slow. The lobby was small, just a desk, some couches, a TV, and a couple of vending machines in the corner. Behind the desk was a little office with a computer, a chair, and a glass window so I could keep an eye on the lobby. The front doors locked automatically at night, so guests had to buzz to get in, and I'd hit a button to let them through. After midnight, it was usually just the occasional late check-in, and that was it. One night, around 11 p.m., the buzzer went off. I hit the button, and this guy walked in. Mid-40s tall, kinda skinny but not scrawny, wearing jeans, a baseball cap, and carrying a backpack. He strolled up to the desk and asked if we had a room for the night. I said sure, quoted him the price, and he nodded, pulling out a credit card. I swiped it. The machine beeped, and I handed him a key card for room 214 on the second floor. But here's the thing. Before he walked away, he stared at me. Not just a glance, but a long, uncomfortable 3 or 4 seconds, his face blank, eyes locked on mine. Then he turned and headed to the elevator. It didn't scream danger right away, but it was enough to make me uneasy. I went back to my phone, but around midnight, I glanced up, and there he was again, back in the lobby. He didn't come to the desk. He just walked past and plopped down on one of the couches in the lounge area. The TV was off, but he sat there, staring at the blank screen. I figured maybe he couldn't sleep. Some guests do that, right? But after half an hour, I realized he wasn't doing anything. No phone, no book, not even dozing. Just sitting, staring straight ahead. I got up to grab a water from the vending machine, and as I crossed the lobby, I could feel his eyes on me. I didn't look at him, but it was like his gaze was burning into my back until I got behind the desk. My stomach started to knot up. Around 1 a.m., I was messing around on the computer, checking the reservation system to kill time, when I noticed something weird. Room 214 was listed as vacant. I mumbled, "What the heck?" and double-checked, because I just checked this guy in an hour ago. I thought maybe I'd screwed up, so I looked at the check-in logs. Nothing. No name, no charge, no record of him. I checked the transaction screen, and there was no payment either. I could have sworn I swiped his card, and it went through, but the system said otherwise. My heart started racing. I picked up the phone and called room 214. It rang 10 times, no answer. Then I checked the key card entry log, which shows if a room's door was opened. Nothing. No one had entered 214 all night. That's when it hit me. He never went to the room. I glanced over at the lounge, and there he was, still sitting, staring at the blank TV. My chest tightened. I sat there, debating what to do. Part of me thought the system might have glitched, but the missing entry log and payment screamed that this guy wasn't a guest. I watched him for another 15 minutes, and around 1:30, I worked up the nerve to walk over. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He turned his head, looked at me with that same blank expression, and said, "Just can't sleep." Then he turned back to the TV. I nodded, went back to the desk, but my hands were shaking. By 2 a.m., he was gone from the lounge. My stomach dropped. I scanned the lobby. No sign of him. Then I spotted him on the security camera, standing at the end of the first-floor hallway by the bathrooms, half hidden in the shadows. He was just standing there, still as a statue. I kept glancing at him, pretending to work on the computer. He stood there for a while, then slowly walked back to the lounge and sat down again. I called my manager at home, explained everything, and she sounded half asleep. "Just keep an eye on him," she said. "Call the police if he does anything threatening." I hung up thinking, this already feels threatening. I checked the cameras again. He'd wandered down the first-floor hallway, stopped at the end, stood there for minutes, then came back. Later, he went into the stairwell and stayed there for 10 minutes. What was he doing? Every time I looked up, he was somewhere else, near the vending machines by the elevators, or just standing in a dark corner of the lobby, always staring. By 3:30, I couldn't take it anymore. I called the non-emergency police line and told them there was a guy in the hotel who wasn't a guest. They said they'd send someone. While I waited, he moved again, this time closer to the desk, maybe 15 feet away, just watching me. His eyes barely blinked, and he didn't say a word. I pretended to type, but I was so scared I could hardly breathe. Around 3:50, the buzzer went off, and I thought it was the cops, but it was just a late guest. The man turned his head and watched the guest cross the lobby, his eyes tracking every step. That made my fear spike. He was studying people. A few minutes later, he vanished again. I checked the cameras and saw him standing outside a guest room on the first floor, just staring at the door. That's when I called 911. I told them he was outside a guest's room, and I didn't know what he was planning. They said officers were coming. I kept my eyes on the camera feed. He stood there for 3 minutes, then slowly walked back to the lobby. Then he did something that made my blood run cold. He walked right up to the desk, leaned over the counter, and asked in a low, creepy voice, "Got any food?" I pointed to the vending machines, my voice shaking. He gave a small smile, then walked away. Finally, at 4:10, 2 cops showed up. I pointed to the guy, back in the lounge. They talked to him, asked for his ID, and after a few minutes, they walked him out. One officer came back and told me the guy wasn't a guest. The credit card he gave me was stolen, and he had no reservation or bags. He'd been pretending to check in just to get inside. They charged him with trespassing and using a stolen card. After they left, I sat there, shaking, until my shift ended. Every time I looked at the cameras, I expected to see him again. The worst part? He'd been wandering the hotel for hours, standing outside guest rooms, watching me from the shadows, and he was never supposed to be there. I still don't know what he wanted, but I know it wasn't good. That was the scariest night of my life. The gas station stranger. My name's Meredith. I'm 24, and I work the night shift at a tiny gas station off County Road 11. It's one of those blink and you miss it places, only noticed by folks desperate for gas or completely lost. I took the job because it was quiet, predictable, and I liked that. Or at least I did until this happened. It was a Thursday night, around 1 a.m. The air outside was damp, and the hum of the fluorescent lights was driving me nuts. I was about to microwave a cinnamon roll. I didn't even want when the door chimed. This guy walked in, mid-40s, maybe older, wearing a green coat, hair a mess, lips so dry they looked like they'd never smiled. He didn't go for coffee or snacks like most people. He just stood near the counter, staring at me with this weird, familiar look. "Hi," I said, forcing a smile. He said, "You always work this late?" I blinked. Yeah, mostly." He smiled and said, "I figured. I've passed through a few times, noticed it's always you." That hit me like a cold wind. "Oh yes, small town," I said, trying to brush it off. Then he said, "Meredith, right?" I froze. I wasn't wearing a name tag. Before I could ask how he knew, he pointed to the whiteboard where I'd written "Cinnamon coffee is back," and said, "You have nice handwriting. Most people dot their I's with circles. You use little slashes. It's specific, thoughtful." I didn't know what to say. He stood there another minute, watching me like he was studying my every move, then said, "I'm Paul, just curious," and walked out into the fog. After that, he started showing up randomly, not every night, but often enough to make my skin crawl. Sometimes he'd come inside. Other times, he'd sit in his car at the edge of the lot, headlights off. One night, I tried to ignore him. He came in, bought a water, and lingered. "You're quieter tonight," he said. "Long shift," I muttered. He looked around the store like he was memorizing it. "Must get lonely. Just you out here in the dark. No one for miles." I swallowed hard. "I'm fine." He leaned on the counter. "You ever get scared, being a woman alone at night?" His voice wasn't threatening. It was worse, like he was just curious, like he was asking about the weather. I stepped back. "Do you need anything else?" He tilted his head. "You always lock the back room door." "Smart. I noticed you check it around 2 a.m. every night." My stomach twisted. "I'll let you get back to it," he said with a soft smile, like he hadn't just creeped me out and left. After that, I started walking to my car with my keys between my fingers. I kept a tire iron under the counter, changed my apartment curtains, and started locking the bathroom door when I showered, even when I was alone. Some nights he didn't show, and that was worse because I never knew when he'd pop up. One night, I came back from a 10-minute break and found a Polaroid on the counter. It was me, refilling the windshield washer bin outside, taken that night way too close. The slash dot on the I in windshield was circled in red ink. No note, just that. The next time he came in, I told him to leave. "If you stay, I'll call the police," I said, my voice cracking. He nodded. "I get it. I've been too forward. I just think you're the kind of person who's used to being misunderstood. I thought you'd appreciate someone who pays attention. That's not attention, I snapped. That's obsession. He didn't flinch. Would it be easier if I wore a smile, brought a soda every night? Would I be more normal if I talked about sports and pretended I didn't notice your shoes are a half size too big, or how your left eyelid twitches when you're tired? I was already dialing 911. He didn't stop me. The cops came, and he didn't resist. They searched his car and found a notepad with my schedule, my walk, my clothes, my groceries. One page just had my name written over and over in tight loops until it was scribbles. He kept saying, "I just notice things. I'm just curious." The restraining order went through that week. I don't work nights anymore, and I moved 2 hours away to another station. But when I see headlights behind me too long, my neck still tingles, and I can't shake the way he said my name, like he'd been practicing it. The gas station creepers. I'm 22, a woman, and I've been working the overnight shift at a 24-hour gas station for just under 2 months. I cover Thursday through Saturday, while my co-worker Max handles Sunday through Wednesday. One night, around 2:30 a.m., Max and his buddy Ben rolled in, high as kites on magic mushrooms, giggling like kids. It was honestly hilarious, a nice break from the boredom. We were chatting about random stuff when Ben mentioned a car in the parking lot. Lights off but engine running, with someone inside. He said he'd ask the guy what he was doing, and the guy claimed he was waiting for a DoorDash order. Thing is, I hadn't had a DoorDash order in nearly 2 hours. I'd been cleaning in the back, away from the front windows, so I couldn't see the lot. We brushed it off, and Max and Ben went outside to smoke a cigar and play with Max's dog. An hour later, they came back for more coffee, and Max told me more. The car was parked in a spot I couldn't see from the register because of a wall. The whole hour they were out there, the guy was switching between watching them and texting. When Ben, still high, confronted him, the guy pretended not to speak English, then said he had the wrong address and peeled out. Max noticed the car looked brand new, no license plate, and had a pile of blankets in the back, enough to hide someone. Another car, also brand new with no plates, pulled in just as the first one left, then followed it out. Max stayed another 15 minutes, told me to be careful, and left. By 6 a.m., Max was back sober, and we talked more. He said the guy was super suspicious, constantly checking his phone and watching the lot and the store. Max admitted he was freaked out, especially after coming down from his high. We agreed that if he and Ben hadn't been there, things could have gone bad. I carry a knife for protection, but if there were multiple people, it might not have been enough. I worked again that night, and around 3 a.m., four guys came in for coffee and snacks. While I was ringing them up, one asked if I knew about the car at the far end of the lot, running with its lights off. He said it was a brand new Subaru, no plates, with 2 guys arguing in the front seats. My heart sank. I told them a car like that was here the night before. The guy, who seemed like the group's leader, said they'd noticed it while pumping gas. As they walked to the store, they heard one guy talking loudly, pointing at the doors. When one of them started approaching the car, the guys inside backed up and drove off. I told them about the previous night, how the car acted suspicious and left when confronted. They offered to stick around to make sure it didn't come back. I asked if they were sure, and they said it was no trouble. They hung out for 20 minutes, and we decided I was probably safe. I gave them free coffee refills, and they left. Nothing else happened that night, but I was on edge, especially when I had to go outside to change the trash at the pumps. I never saw the car myself, but two groups of people warned me about it. At first, I hoped I was just paranoid, but the same car showing up 2 nights in a row, parking where I couldn't see it, makes me think my fear was justified. I'm off for a few days now, and I'm praying it doesn't show up when I'm back. The motel bell. My name's Daniel. I'm 29, and I work the overnight shift at a small, family-owned motel in the middle of nowhere. It's not a chain, just a 2-story place with about 25 rooms. I work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and it's usually dead quiet. Maybe a couple of late check-ins, but that's it. I'm not big on people, so sitting in an empty building suits me fine. The setup is simple. A main office with a front desk, some chairs, a coffee machine, and a brochure rack. Behind the desk, a hallway leads to a back office with a couch, a mini fridge, a desk, and a TV. There's a speaker that dings when someone rings the bell at the front desk. So I usually hang out in the back, watch my laptop, or nap on the couch. When the bell rings, I head to the front. I've worked there long enough to know the place's rhythm. The building creaks, the heater clicks, the front door buzzes when guests use their key card after hours. Those sounds are normal, but the night shift can mess with your head. Sometimes, normal stuff starts feeling off, and sometimes things that seem normal aren't. This happened on a cold Tuesday night last fall, around 2 a.m. The parking lot had maybe 4 or 5 cars, and it was chilly, probably in the 40s. I was in the back when the bell rang. I got up, walked to the front, but the lobby was empty. I looked outside through the glass doors, nothing. No cars, no headlights, just darkness. I figured I imagined it, but the bell's loud, so I knew I hadn't. I waited a minute, then went back to the lounge. 10 minutes later, it rang again. I hurried to the front. Empty again. The hair on my neck stood up. I stepped outside, checked the lot. Same cars, no movement. The road was dead. I went back inside, sat at the front desk instead of the lounge, thinking maybe some drunk was pranking me, like a ding-dong ditch. After 15 minutes of nothing, I relaxed, opened my laptop, and figured it was a one-off. Then the bell rang again. I snapped my head up. Nobody. My skin crawled. I checked around the desk, the lobby bathrooms, even stepped outside again. Nothing. I walked the lot with my phone flashlight, but it was silent. I decided to stay at the front desk, thinking if someone was messing with me, I'd catch them. I dimmed the lobby lights and sat there, listening. Every sound. The clock ticking, the fridge humming, the building creaking, made me jump. I stared at the bell, waiting. 15 minutes passed, then 20. My eyes got heavy, and I started thinking I'd imagined it all. Just as I was dozing off, the bell rang again. This time, I saw it. A pale hand reached up from under the desk, pressed the bell, and vanished. I jumped up, nearly knocked the chair over, and bolted to the back office. I slammed the door, locked it, and stood there, heart pounding. How could someone be under the desk? It's tight, but someone could squeeze in. That meant they'd been hiding there, feet from me waiting. I checked the security monitors. 4 cameras, lobby, hallway, and 2 in the lot. The lobby feed showed the chair tipped over from my rush. Then, in the corner of the frame, a head poked out from behind the desk. I couldn't see details, just an outline and the glint of eyes staring into the camera. I backed away from the monitor, grabbed my phone, and called 911, whispering that someone had broken in. The dispatcher told me to stay put. I watched the monitor. The head disappeared. Then the person crawled out on hands and knees. He was tall, in a hoodie with the hood pulled tight, hunched over. He stood, walked around the lobby like he was looking for something, then headed toward the hallway to the back office. The door knob rattled once slowly, then stopped. I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it was closing. The guy paced the lobby, stood by the glass door staring outside, then flipped through the brochure rack like he was mocking me. Finally, I saw police lights on the lot cameras. The guy bolted out of frame, and I heard the front doors open. The cops cleared the building, found a rock propping the door open, but the guy was gone. They said he must have slipped out when they arrived. I keep replaying that hand reaching up, pressing the bell like it was nothing. Now, every time that bell rings at night, I'm back in that moment, and I'll never look at that desk the same way again. Thanks for sticking with us through Night Shift Nightmares on Mr. Wisman's channel. If these creepy tales got your heart racing, hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe for more spine-chilling stories. Stay spooky, folks, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.